Authenticity does not mean giving every person full access to you. Please hear me clearly. Everybody does not deserve access to every part of you. And having boundaries is not being fake. Authenticity means the version you show does not violate the values you hold. Somebody didn't hear. Authenticity means the version you show to other people does not violate the values you hold. The problem begins when belonging requires you to become someone you do not respect. Welcome to the Gracefully Growing podcast, the place where we have honest conversations about emotional intelligence, confidence, identity, relationships, and the real challenges young people face while growing into themselves. Hello, I am Dr. Kemi, author, educator, speaker, life coach, and the creator of the Living with Grace framework. Now, GRACE stands for gratitude, reflection, affirmations, connections, and empathy. Each week, we use these 5 principles to help you better understand yourself, strengthen your emotional health, and build a life that reflects who you truly are. I want to say thank you to my current subscribers. I am so glad that you're here. And if you're not yet subscribed, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you would miss another episode from me. Also, I also want to remind you, please send this episode to a friend who has ever said, I don't know who I am anymore. Because today we're going there. But before we get started, I want you to go ahead and grab your journal. If you don't have a journal, grab a notebook. If you do not have a notebook, open the notes app in your phone so that you're able to take some notes. Let's us begin. So today we are asking one of the hardest and most important questions anybody can ask. Who am I when I am not performing for somebody else? Who am I when nobody is watching? So let me tell you this. Some of you watching me right now, you have multiple versions of yourself. Am I right? You may have a school version of yourself, a home version of yourself. You may have a church version, a sports team version, a family reunion version, and let's not forget the version of you that shows up when your own parent walks into your room without knocking. That version moves faster than an Olympic athlete. Am I right? You close tabs, you hide the snacks, you suddenly start looking extremely productive. And then you look up suddenly, hey mom, I was just researching photosynthesis at 11:47 p.m. at night. Right. But seriously, have you ever stopped to ask, which version is actually you? Who are you when nobody's watching? Who are you when there are no likes to collect, no teachers to impress, no friends to entertain, and no family members telling you what they expect? Because sometimes we become so skilled at adjusting ourselves to every room that we eventually stop knowing which version feels real. So in this episode, we're going to talk about the differences between adapting and performing. We're going to talk about people pleasing, fear of rejection, personality shifting, and the quiet ways you may be disappearing inside your own life. And before we finish, I'm going to guide you through a tool called the four-room identity check. This tool will help you recognize where you feel most like yourself and where you may be giving too much of yourself away. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me remind you, this episode is not about judging who you have been. It's about discovering who you are becoming. Let me tell you a little story. During my years as an educator, I watched students walk into my office and become completely different people depending on who was with them. A student might come into my office, for example, alone and be thoughtful, respectful, funny, and honest. They would tell me all about their goals. They would admit when they were struggling. They would explain how badly they wanted to improve and be better. Then two friends of theirs would walk into the room. Suddenly, that same student that was telling me all of those things would lean back in the chair, change their voice, act like they did not care about school, and laugh about things that seemed important 5 minutes earlier. It was almost as though the student had left the room and a character had taken their place. And I remember thinking to myself, this poor baby is not fake. He or she is afraid that the thoughtful version will not be accepted, afraid that caring too much will be embarrassing, afraid that friends will say they're doing too much, acting different, being sensitive, being corny, or trying to be better than everyone else. So instead of risking rejection, the student performs. Maybe you've done that too. You know the answer in class, but you don't raise your hand because you don't want anyone to call you a know-it-all. Is that you? You care about your grades, but around certain friends, you say, I don't even care about this class. Is that you? You like a certain kind of music, hobby, a certain kind of book, a game, or television show, but when someone asks about it, you say, oh, it's nothing. You don't agree with what your friends are saying, but you laugh anyway because silence might mean you become their next target. You pretend you're not hurt when you're left out because admitting that you care feels more embarrassing than the exclusion itself. We're going to explore all of this today. Not whether you behave exactly the same in every setting, because quite frankly, you should not. If you think about the fact that you would not speak to your grandmother or your mother exactly the same way you speak in the group chat, at least I hope you don't. Adjusting your communication in a setting is absolutely normal. The question is, when you adjust, are you still connected to your values? You didn't hear me. Let me say that again. The question is, when you adjust, are you still connected to your values? Or do you abandon yourself to gain approval? Let me introduce you to someone we will call Jordan. Now, Jordan is not one specific teenager. Jordan represents many young people I have taught, coached, raised, encouraged, and watched over the years. And some of you listening to me right now at home. Jordan is creative, curious, and full of ideas. Jordan loves designing characters, creating stories, and thinking about starting a YouTube channel. At school, however, Jordan is known as the funny one. Jordan makes jokes in class, pretends not to care about assignments, and makes fun of almost everything. One afternoon, Jordan receives a high grade on a difficult project. Jordan feels proud, but when a friend asks about the grade, Jordan shrugs and says, it was easy. I barely tried. That's not true. Jordan worked hard on that project for several nights. But Jordan does not want anyone to know how much it mattered. Later that week, Jordan's friends begin making fun of another student's presentation. Jordan knows the presentation took courage. Jordan knows the comments are cruel. Jordan also laughs. That night, Jordan feels uncomfortable, not because someone punished Jordan, not because a teacher called home. Jordan feels uncomfortable because Jordan behaved in a way that did not match the person Jordan believed themselves to be. That feeling has a name, and it is called misalignment. Misalignment happens when your actions and your values move in opposite directions. So it looks like this. You value kindness, but you participate in cruelty. You value honesty, but you lie about what matters to you. You value loyalty, but you gossip about someone you call a friend. You value yourself, but you repeatedly agree to things that leave you feeling used, invisible, or resentful. Now, hear me when I say this. Misalignment does not mean you are a bad person. It means something inside you is asking for your attention. That thing is your integrity saying that did not feel like us. Let us do something together right quick. I call this the 4-room identity check. I want you to do this with me. Picture yourself walking through 4 different rooms. You may want to write down one word or phrase for each room as I describe them. So, room number 1, home. Who are you around your family? Are you talkative? Are you quiet, responsible, irritated, playful, guarded, helpful, or invisible? Do you feel safe being honest? Or do you feel pressure to be the strong one, the successful one, the easy child, or the child who never causes problems? Room number 2, school. Who are you around classmates, teachers, coaches, or teammates? Do you participate? Do you shrink? Do you act like you do not care? Do you become louder because you're afraid nobody will notice you otherwise? Room number 3, online. Who are you when you post, comment, text, game, or scroll? Are you more confident online? More critical? More willing to say things you would never say face to face? Do you post do you post what reflects you or what you believe will receive the strongest reaction? Room number 4, private. This is when you're sitting with yourself. So who are you when you are alone? What do you enjoy when no one is there to judge it? What do you think about? What do you dream about? What do you regret? What do you believe when no one is influencing your answer? Now ask yourself 4 questions. Which room feels more natural? Which room feels more exhausted? In which room do you hide the most? What value do you want to carry into every room? Maybe that value is kindness. Maybe it is honesty. Maybe it is integrity. Maybe it is courage, faith, creativity, discipline, compassion, or self respect. You do not have to express yourself identically in every room. Authenticity does not mean giving every person full access to you. Please hear me clearly. Everybody does not deserve access to every part of you. And having boundaries is not being fake. Being private is not being dishonest. Changing your communication style is not automatically betraying yourself. Authenticity means the version you show does not violate the values you hold. Somebody didn't hear me. Authenticity means the version you show to other people does not violate the values you hold. You can be quiet and still be authentic. You can be cautious and still be authentic. You can protect your privacy and still be authentic. The problem begins when belonging requires you to become someone you do not respect. So let's talk about code switching and adapting and disappearing. We need to talk carefully about code switching. Traditional, traditionally, cultures, dialect, speech patterns, or cultural communication styles depending on the setting. For many people, especially Black students and students from other marginalized backgrounds, code switching can be a strategy for navigating spaces where their natural communication style is misunderstood, judged, or unfairly stereotyped. That is real. It is not automatically a personal weakness. It can be a form of awareness and adaptability or protection. But there is another behavior that teenagers often experience that I will call personality shifting. Let's talk about it. Personality shifting is when you change your attitudes, your opinion, interests, boundaries, or behavior because you're afraid the real version of you will not be accepted. Here is the difference. Adjusting the way you present an idea during a scholarship interview, that is adaptability. Pretending you do not have ideas because you're afraid your friends will judge you is disappearing. Speaking more formally to a teacher is awareness. Joining in while someone is being humiliated in your presence because you want to stay accepted in that group is abandonment. Choosing not to share personal information with an unsafe person is a boundary. Creating an entire personality to keep unsafe people entertained. Now we call that performance. Now I want you to ask yourself this. Am I adapting or am I disappearing? That question matters because performance is exhausting. When you perform, every interaction becomes a calculation. Should I laugh? Should I agree? Was that too much? Do they think I'm weird? Should I delete that last post? Did I sound smart enough? Did I sound too smart? Am I being too quiet? Am I being too loud? Some of y'all have so many personalities that your personalities need a group project rubric. School personality, you handle the presentation. Home personality, complete the research. Group chat personality, please do not get us suspended. When you are constantly calculating who to be, you never get to rest. Eventually, the performance can become so automatic that you stop knowing what you really think. Let's talk about people pleasing. People pleasing often looks like kindness from the outside. I should know. I used to be a people pleaser. You are agreeable. You avoid arguments. You help everybody. You say yes. You do not complain. You tell people whatever you want is fine. Sometimes that really is flexibility. Other times it is fear dressed like kindness. People pleasing may sound like this. I don't care where we eat. I'm not upset. It wasn't a big deal. You can copy my work. I'll do the whole project. You can invite them. I don't mind. I'm fine with the joke. But inside, you do care. You are upset. It was a big deal. You do not want them copying your work. You are tired of doing the entire project. You do mind. The joke did hurt. People pleasing happens when your main goal is not kindness, but protection. You're trying to protect yourself from conflict, disappointment, rejection, or being labeled difficult. Many people pleasers have learned to scan every room before deciding how they feel. They ask, what does everyone else want? What response will keep the peace? How do I make sure no one is upset with me? But they rarely ask, what do I need? What do I believe? What would be honest? And here's what makes people pleasing complicated. It's sometimes words. People may like you because you always agree. They may call you dependable because you never say no. They may call you easygoing because you never express a preference. But being needed, young people, is not the same as being known. Being praised for having no boundaries is not the same as being loved. And avoiding every conflict does not create peace. Sometimes it creates resentment. Here's a quick check. Complete this statement for me. I often say yes when I really want to say no because I'm afraid that, be honest, I'm afraid they will stop inviting me. I'm afraid they will think I'm selfish. I'm afraid they will be angry. I'm afraid they will find someone else. I'm afraid they will not like the real me. That fear is information. It shows you where it shows you where your self-worth may still depend on someone else's reaction. Let's talk about the fear of rejection. Fear of rejection is often the invisible force behind personality shifting and people pleasing. It doesn't always look like fear. Sometimes it looks like procrastination. You never start the channel because nobody might watch. You never audition because you might not be selected. You never submit the application because you might hear no. Sometimes it looks like pretending not to care. You say, I didn't want to go anyway, but you did. Sometimes it looks like silence. You don't tell your friend that something hurt because you're afraid the conversation may change the relationship. Sometimes it looks like perfectionism. You keep rewriting, editing, practicing, and preparing because you believe being perfect will protect you from criticism. Mm. But perfection cannot protect you from being human. At some point, somebody will misunderstand you. I guarantee it. Somebody may not choose you. Somebody may not like your idea. Somebody may look at the real you and say, that's not for me. And here's the truth. That may hurt. I'm not going to sit here and pretend rejection feels wonderful. Nobody gets rejected and says, this is fantastic. What a delightful opportunity for emotional development. No, rejection can be painful, but rejection is not proof that you lack value. Sometimes rejection reveals incompatibility. Sometimes it reveals timing. Sometimes it redirects you. Sometimes it exposes a relationship that only worked while you were performing. When someone rejects the performed version of you, they are rejecting a character. When someone rejects the authentic version of you, they may simply be showing you that they're not able to appreciate or support who you are. That is not always a deficiency. There is a difference. The goal is not to become rejection proof. The goal is to become rejection resilience. I am preaching to somebody today because rejection resilience means I can hear no without deciding I am nothing. I can lose a friendship without losing my identity. I can receive criticism without allowing it to become my entire inner voice. I can be disappointed and still keep moving. I can be misunderstood and still know who I am. Let me give you a grace roadmap back to yourself. So, how do you stop building your identity around people's reactions? This is where we use grace, not as five inspirational words, not as a cute acronym to place on a notebook. I know it's cute. Grace is a practical process for returning to yourself. We're going to apply each grace principle to Jordan's story and to yours. Gratitude. Name what you've been hiding. Remember Jordan? Jordan hides creativity, effort, and ambition because caring feels risky to Jordan. Gratitude invites Jordan to stop treating those qualities like problems. Gratitude in this context is not only saying, I am grateful for my family, my home, or my food. Those things matter. But identity based gratitude asks, what quality inside me have I failed to appreciate? Maybe you are sensitive. People have told you you feel too much, but your sensitivity may also help you notice when someone is hurting. Maybe you're quiet. People may overlook you, but your quietness may help you observe that details that louder people miss. Maybe you are stubborn. That quality may sometimes cause conflict. It may also be the reason you keep going when things become difficult. Maybe you're different from the people around you. That difference may feel lonely today. It may also become the foundation of your purpose. Let me tell you about your first grace micro challenge. It is called Name It. Finish the sentence for me. One part of myself I am learning to appreciate is not tolerate, not apologize for, appreciate. Maybe your answer is my creativity, my sense of humor, my culture, my curiosity, my ability to care deeply, my determination, my voice. Gratitude reduces the need to beg the outside world to approve of qualities you have already learned to value. Reflection. Notice where you leave yourself. Let me explain. Remember Jordan? Jordan felt uncomfortable after laughing at the student's presentation. Reflection helps Jordan understand why. Not to shame him, not to shame Jordan, not to label Jordan a bully forever, but to ask, what happened inside me? What was I afraid would happen if I did not laugh? Was I trying to impress someone? Is this a pattern? What would I want to do differently next time? Reflection turns an experience into information. Without reflection, we repeat patterns and call them personality. I'm just like them. I always shut down. I always choose the wrong friends. I always overreact. But many patterns are not permanent personality traits. They are learned responses. So reflection creates a pause between the pattern and the next decision. Your reflection micro challenge is called Notice It. At the end of the day, ask, when did I feel most like myself today? When did I feel least like myself today? What was happening around me in those moments? Do not immediately judge your answer. Study it. Maybe you felt most like yourself when you're making music, or you're drawing, or you're helping someone, you're playing sports, reading, cooking, praying, creating content, or talking to one particular friend. Maybe you feel least like yourself around people comparing, pressure, or make you feel like everything meaningful is embarrassing. Those patterns or 6. Pay attention to them. Affirmation means you're reclaiming your inner voice. Jordan has internal belief. Jordan's internal belief is if people know I care, they will make fun of me. So Jordan performs indifference. So Jordan performs indifference. Affirmation helps Jordan build a new belief. Caring is not embarrassing. Effort is not weakness. I do not have to pretend to be uninterested to belong. Real affirmation is not lying to the self. It is not standing in the mirror saying, I am flawless, everybody loves me, and I have never made a questionable decision in my whole life. Listen, your brain would immediately respond. Please be serious. An effective affirmation should be honest enough to believe and strong enough to guide you. So instead of, I'm never afraid, try, I can feel afraid and still speak honest. Instead of, everybody accepts me, try, I do not need everybody's approval to respect myself. Instead of, I am perfect, try, I am growing, learning, and becoming more honest with myself. Let's talk about your affirmation micro challenge. We're going to call this reclaim it. Finish this sentence for me. Even when people do not understand me, I am still worthy, still intelligent, still creative, still lovable, still growing, still allowed to take up space, still myself. Say your sentence out loud. Yes, out loud. Your internal voice needs practice because the external voices have been training for years. Grades have opinions. Did y'all know that? Social media has opinions. Friends have opinions. Family members have opinions. Random people with cartoon profile pictures have extremely strong opinions. Affirmation helps you build a voice inside yourself that is strong enough to respond to them. Connection. Let Jordan wants to be known but is afraid of being seen. That is one of the painful contradictions of human connection. We want people to understand us, but we hide the information they will need in order to understand us. Then we'll feel lonely because nobody knows the real us. You can have hundreds of contacts, thousands of followers, and multiple group chats and still feel alone. Attention is not the same as connection. Popularity is not the same as safety. Being included is not always the same as belonging. Belonging says, I do not have to betray myself to remain here. Real connection does not require telling everybody everything. Please do not leave this episode and reveal your deepest secret to the first person who asks you how your day is going. Connection should be built with discernment. Trust develops in layers. Start small. Instead of saying, I'm fine, try, honestly, this week has been harder than expected. Instead of hiding your interests, say, I actually really enjoy that. Instead of pretending a comment did not hurt, tell a trusted person. That bothered me more than I admitted. Let's look at your connection micro challenge, and we're going to call it share it. Choose one safe person and share something one level more honest than usual. Not 10 levels, one. A safe person could be a parent, guardian, teacher, counselor, coach, mentor, your sibling, or an emotionally responsible friend, your favorite auntie, your favorite uncle. Look for people who do not punish honesty. Look for people who can listen without immediately making everything about themselves. And certainly, I want you to look for people who leave you feeling more like yourself, not more ashamed of yourself. Now let's move on to the last pillar of grace, which is empathy. Humanize others without abandoning yourself. Jordan laughed at another student because Jordan was afraid of becoming the target. Empathy asked Jordan to consider, how did that student feel while everyone laughed? What courage did it take for that student to stand in front of the class? How would Jordan feel in the same situation? Empathy helps you stand outside of your immediate need for approval and recognize the humanity of the person in front of you. It also helps you understand that many people are performing because they're afraid to. The loud student may be afraid of being ignored. The student who acts like nothing matters may be afraid of failing. The person who criticizes everybody may be deeply critical of themselves. Understanding this does not excuse harmful behavior. Empathy is not permission for people to mistreat you. You can understand someone's pain and still protect yourself from their behavior. Empathy also belongs inward, self empathy. And this means you speak to yourself with honesty and dignity after a mistake. Jordan can say, I participated in something hurtful. That was wrong. I need to repair what I can and make a different choice next time. That is accountability. Jordan does not need to say, I'm horrible. I ruin everything. I will always be this way. That is shame. Accountability says, I did something that does not match my values. Shame, on the other hand, says, I am permanently unworthy. Only one of those leads to a healthy growth. So your empathy micro challenge is called humanize it. When someone frustrates you, ask, what fear or need might be underneath this behavior? Then, when you make a mistake, ask, how would I speak to someone I love who made the same mistake? Offer yourself that same combination of compassion and truth. Let us return to Jordan. So the next day, Jordan sees the students whose presentation was mocked. Jordan has a choice. Jordan can avoid eye contact and pretend nothing happened. Jordan can say everybody was laughing, it wasn't just me, or Jordan can practice race. Jordan reflects on what happened. Jordan recognizes the fear of being rejected by the friend group. Jordan affirms, I can be kind even when kindness is not popular. Jordan approaches the student and says, hey, I laughed yesterday and that was wrong. You did not deserve that. I'm sorry. Maybe the student accepts the apology. Maybe the student is still hurt. An apology does not control another person's response. It controls whether you take responsibility for your actions. Later, when the friend group starts making another joke, Jordan does not deliver a dramatic speech with background music. Jordan simply says, that's enough. Or Jordan does not laugh. Or Jordan changes the subject. Or Jordan walks away. Authenticity is often less dramatic than people imagine. It is usually a collection of small decisions. It is choosing the lunch table where you can breathe. It is admitting that you care about your future. It is raising your hand when you know the answer. It is saying, that joke was not funny to me. It is posting something because it reflects your values, not because you believe it will perform well. It is saying no without creating 17 fake excuses. Make that no your complete sentence. You do not need to say, I cannot attend because my grandmother's neighbor's cousin needs help moving a refrigerator. You don't need no excuses. You can say, thank you for inviting me, but I will not be attending. A complete sentence. Before I go, I want to give you a 7-day challenge. Not a challenge where you transform your entire personality by next Tuesday. We're not doing that. The goal is simply to notice where you're performing and practice one small act of alignment each day. Day one, observe. Notice when your behavior changes around different people. Do not judge it yet. Just observe. Day two, identify. Complete the four-room identity check. And here are the 4 rooms: at home, at school, online, and private. Which room feels most natural? Which feels more exhausting? Day three, appreciate. Name one quality you normally hide, minimize, or apologize for. Practice gratitude for it. Day four, speak. Share one honest opinion or preference. It can be as simple as, I would rather watch this movie. I actually like that song. I need some time alone tonight. Day five, set a boundary. Say no to one reasonable request that you do not have the time, energy, or willingness to accept. Be respectful. Be clear. Do not write a 10-page explanation. Day six, prepare. Think about a recent moment when your actions did not match your values. Apologize, correct it, or decide what you will do differently next time. Day seven, choose. Choose one value you want to carry into every room. Write it somewhere you will see it. Then ask yourself, what would it look like to practice this value today? You do not need to complete this challenge perfectly. The purpose is not performance. That would be very ironic, right? The purpose is to create some awareness. So everything we discussed today, identity, people pleasing, boundaries, rejection, self-awareness, and authentic connection, is part of the deeper work that we do inside the Living with Grace course and school community. The course is designed to help young people build an identity that is not controlled by grades, likes, popularity, mistakes, comparison, or other people's expectations. Inside the program, you will learn how to identify your values, strengthen your emotional intelligence, build confidence, communicate more honestly, navigate difficult relationships, and develop practices using gratitude, reflection, affirmation, connection, and empathy. The information is in the description and show notes. But whether or not you join today, begin with the 4-room identity check. Notice where you feel free. Notice where you feel like you're auditioning. That awareness may reveal more than you expect. In closing, the goal is not to become exactly the same person in every room. The goal is to stop entering rooms that require you to abandon yourself. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to learn from mistakes. You are allowed to protect parts of yourself until trust has been earned. But you should not have to become cruel to be accepted. You should not have to pretend you do not care in order to look confident. You should not have to erase your culture, your values, your intelligence, your sensitivity, your dreams, or your voice to belong. So here is my question for you. In which of the 4 rooms do you feel most like yourself? Home, school, online, or private? Leave your answers in the comments. You do not have to explain everything. Just name the room. And share this episode with someone who may be tired of performing but does not yet have the words to explain it. You do not need everyone to approve of the person you are becoming, but you do need to be able to recognize that person when you look in the mirror. So keep growing, keep becoming, and until next time, keep living with grace, and know that you got this, and I am rooted for you. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Gracefully Growing. Thank you so much for tuning in and growing with me. Remember, living with grace means showing gratitude, taking the time for reflection, speaking powerful affirmations, building strong connections, and practicing daily empathy with yourself and others. If today's episode gave you something to think about, inspired you, or made you smile, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can also download today's free resource in the show notes and join our gracefully growing community on social media for more tools, encouragement, and real talk. Until next time, keep showing up for yourself, keep growing, and most of all, keep living with grace. I am Dr. Kemi. See you next week.